Welcome back to Marble League Football. Here we have Week 7 of our first ever MLF season. These are the records after Week 6 last week. The Tigers, Pirates, Kings, and Spartans are all tied at 4-2. The Tigers beat all three teams, so that's why they stand on top of them at first place in the East. They also have the most points of the league so far at 210. Look for them to continue their win streak here. On the West, we have the Wranglers, who took their first loss last week to the Serpents. They dropped to 5-1, but they are still in first place on the West Conference, though they have what seems to be the second lowest amount of points scored so far this year. Their defense has really come up big for them. Their offense needs to pick it up if they want to continue any type of dominance going into the playoffs. Serpents and Knights standing at 4-2 in second and third place. Serpents beat the Knights. That's where they're on top of them. And we have a three-way tie for fourth place between the Reapers, Dinos, and Bulls. Hawks and Huskies still looking for their first win, both sitting at 0-6. Your Scorpions and Sharks at 2-4. We have the Mustangs and Spiders at 3-3. They want to sneak their way into the playoffs if they can. But these are the standings after Week 6. Here we have Week 7. Look for it to kick off with a great game between the Huskies and the Spartans. Huskies still looking for their first win after a loss last week to the Mustangs. They stand at 0-6. But the Spartans lost last week to the Kings. They dropped to 4-2. They're averaging 28 points per game. The Huskies averaging 24 points per game. This will be the last game of conference play for the year. Next week, everyone will see non-conference play, so this is a very important game for standings and playoffs. Look for it to be a great one, and let's kick off Week 7 of Marble League Football here. The Huskies start the game with the ball. They go down and get 3 points to start the game. Spartans want to start strong here in the first quarter, like they usually do. There's a penalty. Touchdown! They take the early lead over the Huskies. Huskies, not a rare sight for them to be down. Going into the second quarter, Huskies have a chance here to put on some more points. Still looking for their first win. They've had many tries. They just keep coming short. They managed to get 2 field goals here in the second quarter. They take the lead with the penalty, and they take advantage. They do! Make it 12-7 right before halftime. Can the Spartans answer back? They don't. They get stopped. What a defensive stop by the Huskies. Going into the halftime, they have the ball here in the third quarter. Excuse me, the Spartans do. Field goal. They cut the lead down by 2. 12-10. Huskies over the Spartans. Can they score here? They don't. They get stopped by the Spartans. Great defensive spot by the Spartans. There's a penalty though. No points. Spartans with a big defensive stop there. Fourth quarter. Down 2 points. Can they put up some points? No! Your Huskies win their first game. Their first game ever in the MLF. How many points can they put up? Touchdown! Touchdown! What a game by your Huskies. They finally win. They beat the Spartans here in an upset, 26-10. What a performance by your Huskies. And this will not help the Spartans at all in playoff contentions here. They dropped to 4-3. While your Huskies find their first win, standing at 1-6. They scored 2 touchdowns, 4 field goals, putting up 26 points, while only holding the Spartans to 10 points. What seems to be a league low of points so far this whole season, 10 points by the Spartans. That is not very typical of them. They score 28 points per game, but not today. They fall to the Huskies. Your Huskies win their first game so far of this season. What a game by the Huskies. Look for the Spartans to really bounce back next week. They have to. Our next game will feature the Pirates and the Mustangs. The Pirates stand at 4-2, averaging 32 points per game. They beat the Sharks last week. The Mustangs averaging 25 points per game. They just beat the Huskies last week, who we just saw win their first game. Look for this game to be a big one. It has great playoff implications. The Mustangs want to slip their way into this playoff picture, and they have to win if they want to do that. While your Pirates need to win if they want to keep the top spot in the rankings in the conference. Look for it to be a great game. A lot of stakes in this one. The Pirates won the coin toss and want to take the ball to start the game. And you're off. Week 2, Pirates and the Mustangs. They score a touchdown. Early touchdown to take the lead. There's a penalty. And another touchdown. They take advantage. Make it early 14-0 lead over the Mustangs for the Pirates. How can the Mustangs respond? They get stopped, but there is a penalty. They tack on some first points here on the board. Touchdown! Cut the lead down to 7. Going into the second quarter, Pirates 14, Mustangs 7. Can the Pirates extend their lead here? Very important game for both teams. Touchdown! 21-7. Pirates firing on all cylinders on offense, and the Mustangs stop them on defense. 2 field goals and a penalty. Put the lead down to 8. What can they do before halftime? They will start the third quarter with the ball. They get stopped. Going to halftime trailing by 8 points. They start with the ball in the third quarter. Touchdown! 2 touchdowns! They take the lead. 27-21. Both offenses on fire. There's a penalty. Can they take advantage? Field goal. They do. Make it 30-21. They were down 21-7 at halftime. Now they lead 30-21. And they stop the Pirates. There's a penalty. And the Pirates take advantage. They get stopped. Going into the fourth quarter, the Mustangs with a comeback so far. 30-21 over the Pirates. Huge game. Playoff implications. Touchdown! 37-21. The Mustangs on fire on offense. Oh, the Pirates need something huge here to stay in this game. They're down 16 points. Touchdown! But it's not enough. Your Mustangs win. They take off the Pirates. 37-28. What a huge win by your Mustangs. They are now tied into playoff implications. Both teams stand at 4-3. Your Mustangs score 4 touchdowns, but 3 field goals compared to your Pirates. 4 touchdowns and no field goals. Your field goals were the big factor here in the game. Pirates drop an important game here. For your Mustangs, a big needed win here to stay in playoff implications. Look for both teams to bounce back next week in non-conference play. That will really determine who makes the playoffs in the East Conference here. Our next game will feature the Sharks and the Tigers. The Tigers look like an unbeatable team, but they lost to the Spiders last week in a close call. Is it a bluff, or can they continue their dominance here? The Sharks lost to the Pirates last week. They stand at 2-4. Although they average a pretty high number, 28 points per game, the Tigers average 35 points per game. It seems to be the best in the league so far. High-powered offenses here. Can the Tigers remain on top, or can the Sharks maybe find their way into the playoffs somehow, some way? If they win here, who knows? There's a lot of ties in the East Conference. It's really up for grabs. But to start the game here, the Tigers have the ball. They go down. They score 6 points right off the bat. You can expect that with that high-powered offense in the Tigers. And the Sharks keep up with the Tigers, though. Field goal. Score 6-3 going into the second quarter. Tigers look to extend their lead here against the weak Sharks defense. Field goal. Extend the lead to 6. Perfect opportunity for a Sharks offense here. Touchdown and 2 field goals. They take the lead. They take a 7-point lead over the Tigers going into halftime. Wow. Third quarter here. And the Sharks extend their lead. Touchdown. They do. They're on the verge of an upset here. Sharks 23, Tigers 9. Can the Tigers come back? Field goal. Touchdown. And just like that, your Tigers are back in this game. They're down 4 points. They really need this win here if they want to stay on top of the conference in the East. Sharks here. They get stopped. No! Tigers with a big defensive stop. Their defense comes through. Where the offense complete the comeback. Touchdown. Field goal. They do. Your Tigers win. A much needed win to bounce back from last week's loss for the Tigers. They beat the Sharks in an exciting fashion, 29-23, with a big defensive stop in that fourth quarter, and their offense pulls through as they always do. Best offense in the league. Your Tigers advance to 5-2, and they stay on top of the Eastern Conference, while your Sharks, so close but too far, drop to 2-5. They're still in 7th place in that conference. Their playoff hopes, very little chance. But your Tigers looking good going into the postseason if they do make it at the top speed. Our next game will feature the Kings and the Spiders. Both teams coming off big wins last week. The Kings knock off the Spartans. The Spiders knock off the impressive Tigers who we just saw win. Spiders stand at 3-3, averaging 25 points per game, while your Kings are 4-2, averaging 30 points per game. This is a very big one. All the games this week seem to have big playoff implications. Whichever team wins here has a good chance of making the playoffs. But the Spiders really need a big win here if they want to sneak in, or if the Kings need a win here if they want to stay on top of the conference. Look for this game to be also a great one between two good teams. The Kings will start off the game with the ball. Can their high-powered offense start off fast? Touchdown! Touchdown! Field goal! 17 points by the Kings. They come out firing on all aces for the offense. Can the Spiders respond? Touchdown! Field goal! Touchdown! They tie the game up. 34 points in the first quarter. That's a league high so far this season. Can the Kings respond? No! Spiders make some defensive adjustments and they stop the Kings there after scoring 17 points. What can the Spiders do? Two touchdowns! 31-17. Offensive game here in the first half. Spiders start the game here in the third quarter with a 2-possession lead. 2 field goals, make it 37-17. Score was tied up not too long ago. Now they're up 20 points. Can the Kings keep up here with the Spiders? Field goal. 2 field goals, 14-point game. They put up some points, but not enough. It's not what they wanted. And the Spiders extend their lead here in the fourth quarter. 50 points by the Spiders. What a game by the Spiders offensively. Your Kings just not enough. Touchdown, 30 points, but it's not enough. Your Spiders with a huge win over the Kings. Their playoff hopes remain. Both teams are 4-3. There are now 4 teams that are 4-3 in the Eastern Conference. That conference is up for grabs, aside from the Tigers. These next weeks will really determine who makes the playoffs in the Eastern Conference, with 4 teams or 5 teams sitting at 4-3. It's really up for grabs. These non-conference games are going to be the most important ones to come for the season. Your Spiders score 50 points, 5 touchdowns, 5 field goals. Kings, 3 touchdowns, 3 field goals. Even though they score 30 points, it's not enough against this dynamic Spiders. That concludes our Eastern Conference games. Now it's time for our Western Conference games. We first feature the Dinos and the Wranglers. The Dinos come a win off the Reapers last week. They stand at 3-3, averaging 28 points per game. While your Wranglers suffer their first loss last week to the Serpents. They stand at 5-1. They're averaging 26 points per game, standing around the middle range in the league, if not in the lower half. The Wranglers really depend on their defense, but their offense needs to bounce back here if they want to prove their dominance moving forward on the season. They stand 5-1. They don't score many points on offense. The Dinos will start the game with the ball here. They put up 3 points. They take an early lead of the Wranglers. How can the Wranglers respond? 2 touchdowns, just the way they want to respond after a lackluster performance on offense last week. Dinos down 14-3 going into the second quarter. It's 2 stops, 2 penalties, 2 more tries. Can they take advantage of those? They do not! As we all know, the Wranglers have an insane defense, if not the best in the league, and they're proving that right now. Touchdown and a field goal, 2 field goals! What a lead by the Wranglers going into halftime, 27-3. This is exactly the way they want to bounce back after last week's loss. They also start the game here in the third quarter with the ball. They score a field goal, make it 30-3 with a penalty. What a performance by the Wranglers thus far, and this is why they want to prove that they're the best team in the league. Going into the fourth quarter, score is 30-3. Make that 6. Make that 13. The Dinos are not going to step down to the Wranglers. There's still somewhat of a chance if the Wranglers don't do something here offensively. There's a stop, 2 penalties. Can they take advantage of those? 17-point game. Field goal. Make it 33-13. It's a 20-point game. Your Dinos are still in this game, but it's looking very slim against this defense. And the Wranglers stop them here. Touchdown! 33-20. This game is still not over, folks. 2 chances. They need 2 scores here. No, they get stopped. Your Wranglers defense, what could be the best defense in the league, comes through. They stop the Dinos. Your Wranglers pick up this big win, stay up top of the league, and stay on top of their conference. They stand with the best record in the league thus far, 6-1, 3 touchdowns, 4 field goals, 33 points. This is what you want to see out of the Wranglers offense for dominance. If their offense continues to perform like that and their defense continues to move on the same strides, this team is going to look like a powerhouse moving forward. The Dinos dropped to 3-4. Playoff chances are still there, but they really need some things to go their way, and they need to figure out some adjustments moving forward. We have a great game coming next here between the Knights and the Reapers. Your Knights standing at 4-2, averaging 34 points per game, very high up there in the league. They won last week against the Scorpions. While your Reapers, interesting team here. They started 3-0, but they now have dropped 3 games in a row. Won the first 3 games and now have lost 3 games in a row. We just don't know what we're going to see from this team. They lost last week to the Dinos. Big game for both teams. Knights need this to stay on top of the conference. Reapers need this to stay in playoff contention. Look for it to be a fantastic game between 2 great teams offensively. Look for it to be a high-scoring game here between both squads. Your Knights, 2 touchdowns to start the game, making an early 14-0 lead over the Reapers. Your Reapers need to start off fast as well. Can they do it? Field goal, 2 stops. Not what they wanted to see, especially against this Knights team. But let's see how they try to rally back if they can. Defensively, they're not strong, so that poses a problem against this Knights team, who just scores 2 more field goals to raise their lead 20-3. Not looking good for the Reapers, down 17 points. And another field goal, down 20 points, 3-23. The Reapers are not a team that likes to play from behind. This is not looking good for them, especially against a high-powered team like the Knights. And they get stopped, no points. 3 points only in the first half of the Reapers compared to 23 points for the Knights. The Knights just firing off on all cylinders. Reapers finally scored a touchdown, 10-23 in the third quarter. The Knights still have a chance here to extend their lead. Field goal, touchdown, field goal, 36-10. Complete dominance by the Knights today over the Reapers. The Reapers just look like a whole complete different team from what we saw the first 3 weeks. Touchdown, make it 20-36. Your Knights will come out of this game victorious, 36-20. They score no points here. There is a penalty. Can they tack on more points here on their lead? They don't. Your Knights continue their win streak. They move on to 5-2, while your Reapers drop to 3-4. After winning the first 3 games of this season, they lose 4 games in a row. This is a complete different Reapers team from the one we saw to start the league. But here are the Knights, a high-powered squad. Look for them to really step it up going into non-conference play, so that they can really set their mark going into the playoffs, because they have a strong Serpents team and a strong Wranglers team to worry about. But what a great performance by the Knights. The Reapers still in playoff contention, but they need to figure things out, and they need to figure out fast. Our next game will feature the Hawks and the Scorpions, 2 of the lower ranked teams of the season so far, with your Hawks winless, 0-6. The Huskies found their first win earlier today. Can the Hawks do it? They average a season low, or a league low I should say, of 21 points per game, while the Scorpions lost to this high-powered Knights team who you just saw. They stand at 2-4. They average 26 points per game. The playoff hopes are very slim. Look for it to be a great game. You just want to see some heart and some performance from both squads. Much more from the Hawks, since they still want to find their first win here. The Scorpions, if they win though, still find a way to get into that playoff spot if they can. The Hawks start the game with the ball, and just like how we're used to, no points. Scorpions here. Field goal, they take an early 3-0 lead over the Hawks. 2 teams who do not score very many points here find themselves in a matchup. The Hawks here in the second quarter. There's a penalty. Field goal. 2 field goals make it 6-3 to take the early lead. Penalty, can they take advantage of it? They do, make it 9-3. They take a 6-point lead over the Scorpions. Can they keep it though? Touchdown by the Scorpions, and just like that, they take the lead right back going into halftime. They will start the third quarter with the ball up by 1 over the winless Hawks. Field goal, touchdown! And just like that, big lead from the Scorpions over the Hawks. Hawks are just used to this. Their defense is not that good, and their offense is not good at all. They score 3 points, 12-23. They're still down big going into the fourth quarter. Can the Scorpions extend their lead here? They do! 2 touchdowns, 37 points today scored by your Scorpions. The Hawks just can't seem to find anything going their way this season. They score a touchdown, but it's not enough. They can't even break the 20 more points. And that's why they're winless. They need to find something, and they need to find something fast. If not, they may go winless this whole season, and that's not what we want to see in the first official Marble League football season. The Hawks fall to 0-7, scoring 19 points per game, under their league average. While your Scorpions move to 3-4, they still have slight playoff chances. They need to win out, and they do not have an easy schedule moving forward. They scored 37 points, 4 touchdowns, 3 field goals. What a great game by the Scorpions. Look for them to continue this moving forward, while the Hawks still looking for their first win. And our final game of Week 7 of our Marble League football season features the Serpents and the Bulls. The Serpents may look like the hottest team of the league so far with a 4-game win streak. They just took down the Wranglers to knock off their undefeated streak last week, averaging 31 points per game. While your Bulls want to make that upset here, they stand at 3-3. They also do average 31 points per game. They beat the Hawks last week. Look for it to be a great game between these two teams. Your Serpents need to win to stay with their dominance on top of the conference, while the Bulls want to find their way into that last playoff spot if they can. Both high-powered offenses here, so it could be a high-scoring game. The Serpents go down and score 3 points. They take an early 3-point lead over the Bulls. Bulls step on the field for the first time on offense. Touchdown! They take a 7-3 lead over the Serpents. Can this be the week the Serpents just don't have luck on their sides? We will see here in the second quarter. 2 touchdowns! Make it 17-7. They take the lead right back from the Bulls. How can the Bulls respond? They don't. They get stopped. What a defensive adjustment by the Serpents. They go into halftime here with a 10-point lead. Can they maintain it? Bulls here trailing 10 points. They score 2 field goals to knock the lead down by 4 points. 13-17. Can the Serpents extend their lead here in the third quarter? They get stopped. No. There is a penalty. Can they take advantage of it? It's a low-scoring game for both squads. Touchdown! 24-13. Going into the fourth quarter, your Bulls have one more chance here to shock the world. Touchdown! It's not enough. Your Serpents will continue their dominance in a low-scoring affair, defensive battle. That's maybe what they needed here. Can they put up more points? They don't. But it doesn't matter. Your Serpents win. They move on to 5-2, while your Bulls drop to 3-4. Both teams are high-powered offenses, but today the defenses from both squads were the ones to really show up and really stand out. Much more on the Serpents side compared to the Bulls. Your Serpents, though, do score 3 touchdowns, 1 field goal, while to the Bulls, only 2 touchdowns and 2 field goals. That's ultimately what did it at the end. The Serpents didn't need the offensive points at the end, even though it could have helped if there were any ties due to point differentials. But nonetheless, your Serpents still with dominance in the West Conference. Here are the standings after this Week 7's performances from each team. Looking in the East Conference, there's a 5-way tie for second place. Crazy. 5 teams standing at 4-3. Each team has beaten each other down. There's only one team that has stand on top of all of them, and that's the Tigers, sitting at 5-2, scoring 239 points. And we have the Sharks at 2-5, Huskies 1-6. The Pirates, Kings, Spiders, Mustangs, and Spartans all stand at 4-3. These non-conference games are going to mean more than anything to get into that final playoff spots. Only the top 4 teams from each conference makes it. Look for these next 3 weeks to be fun as ever in our first ever MLF season. Whereas in the West Coast, we have 3 clear-cut teams who are the best in the league so far. Wranglers, Serpents, Knights. Wranglers 6-1, Serpents 5-2, Knights 5-2. And there is a 4-way tie for that 4th place, that last playoff spot between the Reapers, Bulls, Scorpions, and Dinos, all on 3-4. These next 3 weeks are going to be crazy. Who knows what's going to happen? But the playoffs are on the line, folks. And finally, we end off here with our weekly awards to each teams of Week 7. Team of the Week goes to the Spiders, putting up 50 points against the Kings. in a must-win game to stay in playoff contention. Who knows, maybe the Spiders are finally hitting their stride and they'll be a dark horse to emerge into the playoffs if they can. Our game of the week goes to the Sharks and Tigers. Tigers coming off a loss and they bounce back with a gritty hard win here, and they show off their defensive skills to lay off the Sharks and find another win to stay on top of their conference. This is the game of the week of week 7, and here are our winners of week 7. Come back to see week 8 of official non-conference play and to the road of the playoffs, ladies and gentlemen. This is Marble League Football. I hope to see you again next week. Thank you.